Hey guys, it's me, Kimberly Clark, and I'm here with a style guide for the Pantone Colors of the Year 2016. Shit! Welcome to my style guide! So I did a video last year for the Color of the Year 2015, Marsala. And this is a video for the two Pantone Colors of the Year, Rose, Quartz, and Serenity. Pink and blue, basically. Now, I already did a tutorial for this makeup look. I posted it. It is my collaboration with Heather from Ebby Loves Makeup. Please check that out. But you can see how I applied the colors of the year in this makeup look that you see before you. In that video, I described that I went to the Pantone website where they have this little chart that shows you the different palettes that you could choose to use, and we each picked a different palette. I used palette number 7 for this look. So it's really helpful, especially for makeup, if you want to do something that is kind of related to the color of the year, but you don't really know where to start. This is a great resource. It's pantone.com, and I'll give you the specific URL down below. Let's first of all talk about the colors, Rose, Quartz, and Serenity. When I first saw these colors, I was like, I even talk about it in my second anti-haul video where I'm telling you don't buy the Sephora Pantone Color of the Year eyeshadow palette, which still have not purchased, thank you very much. But I was basically like, wow, this color scheme is like motel art. Like, it is pastel, it is calming, it is like, it's kind of boring, right? And they're also on the website, there's like this kind of weird like description about like how because gender's becoming more fluid, these colors are more acceptable. Like, I don't know what the hell they're trying to pull about gender fluidity and the colors of the year. Yeah, like pink and blue have been traditionally gendered colors, but like I do not understand in any way how making them the colors of the year is going to help dismantle the gender binary in any way or make gender more fluid. If you like have any thoughts about that or like know what that means, let me know because I'm totally baffled by it. But I gotta say, like, even though like the whole like motel bathroom thing was initially unappealing to me, when I started looking at the kind of color palettes that you could create with these colors, I was kind of like, oh, there are some interesting things in there. And it's really hard when you're looking at like squares of the color and like just seeing them all equal to like think like how to make that into something that's like actually something you would want to look at or wear on your face. But when you actually start playing with them and applying them, there are ways to kind of adjust proportions of them to kind of create a really interesting and dynamic look. Anyway, for more on this look, go watch my Valentine's Day Color of the Year collaboration with Ebby Loves Makeup. But let's just start with nail polish. So first off, let's look at the colors of the year, like two nail polishes that kind of match those colors. And the ones that I found from my collection are Essie Fiji and Essie's Rock the Boat. I'm super, super happy that Fiji is like making a comeback. It's like one of my favorite polishes. It's one of Nicole from Young Wild and Polish's favorite polishes too. It's just this like beautiful, like slightly warm, pinky color. The kind of interesting thing about Rose Quartz is that it's a little warm. It's not a fully like cool pink. It's like a little warm, which I think is important for kind of combining it with other colors for you to be aware of. And this Serenity color, this is a little bit of shimmer in it. This is Rock the Boat. It really is like this, it's a blue, so it's very cool. It's like pretty pastel-y and like there's a little bit of gray in it too. So this is definitely like a pastel color combo, you know. It's like very baby, like baby pink and baby blue. But there is something about the warmth of the pink that kind of takes it to like another level. I don't know, it just makes it a little bit more nuanced than straight up baby shower situation. So let's look at some colors that kind of complement these in different ways. So I'll start with kind of like blues and greens that are interesting complements to these and also fit into some of these palettes that have been made by Pantone. First up is this shade by Sephora Formula X. This is in the shade Quantum and it is a beautiful sage color. This looks great with the pink. It's like a very kind of like adorable, cutesy combo. It looks great with the blue. It's like really, really kind of unique. Like, I love this. Like, this is like a kind of like cool, like yet earthy combo, but it's still very light in tone. Then a slightly more mint version of that. This is Turquoise and Caicos. This is just like a kind of like minty turquoise color. And, you know, again, just like very calming colorways, you know? Then this is like a straight up kind of like tealy turquoisey light blue, I guess. This is Essie's In the Cab Anna. And this, see, once you put this blue with the pink, it's suddenly a really different thing than this blue with the pink, right? This is like very much more like infantile, and then this suddenly like makes it into this like kind of very like 80s like fun poppy thing, you know? And in turn, the blues together are like just really beautiful. Like they're not super contrasty, but they're just like, again, very calming. No, none of these color combos are about like clash, crazy, awesome. They're all about soothing, calm. We're all gonna chillax in 2016. Okay, let's get into some neutral colors. So I've got my favorite neutral to warm gray. Sorry, I've got like mugs and a Tamagotchi and like all this shit. I already talked about this kind of like neutrally warm to warm gray tone in my fall winter favorites video. This is Chanel Frenzy. And this is just like a really great neutral shade that would very, very well complement these. And like, just look how suddenly the sophistication factor is upped, and not because it's Chanel, not because it's fancy, but because it undercuts the saturation of this, like the pinkness, and it just makes it like this more neutral, kind of very sophisticated look. Maybe even more so with this guy. You could see like a freaking like St. John Marie Gray like a blazer or something, like with those pinstripe in this or something. Very Hamptons and nautical like picket fence holding back the dunes. This is Maybelline Color Show in the shade Sandstorm. It's more white than this Chanel, and it's a little warmer. To kind of do an ombre with these, I think would be really stunning. Again, with the blue, it's like that very kind of like classic nautical, like just really cute. Then we've got this guy. This is like the pinker version of those guys. This is Essie's Topless and Barefoot. It is just a very kind of nude, like a light pink nude. In contrast to like the Chanel or something, which like there's a little bit more higher contrast. There's less kind of similar pink undertones in these two. But in these two, you have a lot of similarities in undertones, and it really complements it in a very different way. This is more contrasting than, say, this. So these guys are more cool together. I don't know, like it brings out a blue in this, which is weird. Whereas this one, it kind of brings out the difference in them a little bit more just because this has a little bit more pink. Now, my favorite kind of like new neutral shade is Essie Mamba. I talked about this in my summer favorites video. This is just like the go-to like gorgeous deep peach shade, and look at it with this pink. Now you think like maybe it's not gonna work, but like rose quartz and Mamba together, again, because there's like that similar warmth in undertone, basically all these combos are like finding a similar thing, whether it's undertone, tone, hue, something, and linking them. It really works. And then with this, again, we've got that contrast of pink and blue. Okay, and then finally, we've got some deeper shades just to try them, just to see what they look like. One thing that I noticed from the Pantone little color spectrum set thing that they have, Marsala was in one of the palettes. Marsala was last year's Pantone Color of the Year. And so here it is with Rose Quartz. This is the shade Rebel Yell from NARS next to Rose Quartz. Red and pink together, I think, are like, have always been like a very taboo color combo. But this, I think, is just really, really classy, and like I can imagine like this base and this like polka dotted on top or something, like some nail art thing that's like very classy. Then the blue, because this is more primary and this is less primary, it creates like a much more kind of nuanced and classy look, I think, than were this to be like a Bugle Boy blue and this red. That would be like another look. It could look really good, but because of the vast difference in tint, like this is much less saturated than this, it's really kind of an interesting complementary situation. Then we've got this CoverGirl Outlast Stay Brilliant, and this is in the shade Amethyst. It's like an iridescent purple shade. It really works with this blue. It really works with this pink. If you have like pink and blue as like ends of a spectrum, this is kind of like a middle ground, like purple, except this is such a deeper version of that. It's like a new kind of take on that, like a new twist. And then finally, we've got Essie's Cashmere Bathrobe. I got a lot of Essie, I don't know why. This is just like a beautiful kind of slate, like granite gray color. Works well with the Serenity. Works even better, I think, with the Rose Quartz. Look at that. I love that. That's like a really, really great combination. So I really feel like the, you know, like when you arrange them together, like you can create some like kind of really interesting palettes. If you have like a lot of nail polishes or a lot of any one product, I think it's like great to kind of just experiment with different, ooh, look at this one, different color combos and just see, you know, like, just like look at what they look like, see what they look like together. All right, let's move on to some makeup pour le visage, for the face. Let's talk about blushes. Okay, Rose Quartz is a very light shade for a blush. It's kind of, it was a little hard for me to find like a very light blush shade. The closest thing that I found, like just as far as a straight color dupe in my collection, was this shade. This is from the NARS Virtual Domination Cheek Palette from last holiday. This is in the shade, I think it's called Sex Fantasy, which is hilarious, but it is just like a great, very, very light blush color. This I think would be a great kind of blush topper. Unless you're extremely fair, like you can't use that just as a blush. Even for me, like this is a little light for me. But what you can do is use this to kind of blend out some blush and also use this as like a highlight, like a pinkish highlight, which I think could be really, really pretty. Now, in terms of like actual blush, you could use like a deeper version of Rose Quartz or like a pink that is similar in terms of warm and not too warm, like not too coral, but like pink and still like kind of baby-y, but not blue baby pink, you know? I've got Mochi, which is a ColourPop blush. This is a great formula blush. I'm wearing this blush today on my cheeks. Just very lightly, you could really diffuse it, as you can see. I've also grabbed this Milani Rose Powder Blush. This is in the shade Tea Rose. It's just like a really kind of beautiful rose color, and it's a little cooler than Rose Quartz, but I think this still kind of works and fits into that color family. Another product that I actually am wearing as a blush today, which is a really good dupe for Rose Quartz, is this. This is the Maybelline Rebel Bloom lipstick. I think this is like in a limited edition shade. This is called Bubblegum Bloom. I'm actually wearing this as a blush topper today, and it's like a kind of iridescent shade and it creates a little bit of highlight, but this is just like a great pinky shade. If you don't have like a perfect blush shade that like to match, you know, Rose Quartz and you really want the Rose Quartz look, use a lipstick. Lipsticks and cream blushes are basically the same. Go for it, kids. If it's good enough for your lips, it should be good enough for your cheeks, right? Right. Okay, so I mentioned highlights, right? So you could use that Sex Fantasy shade as a highlight, but I opted for like a very shimmery pink highlight. Now I know a lot of brands are coming out with like highlighters in different colors, like bluish ones, pinkish ones, yellow ones, all different colors. But this one has been around for a while. This is, I talked about this in my summer favorites video. It's this Wet n Wild Color Icon Trio. This was a limited edition, and Wet n Wild needs to release this as a single. This highlighter shade is out of control, and it has a like slightly pink undertone, which I think just works perfectly well. It's a little peachy, but it still kind of works if you blend it out like I did today. It really works to like kind of complement that pink quartzy rosiness. Just really nice. Okay, let's move on to eyes. If I had to pick one palette that could like do it all, get you your Rose Quartz, get you your Serenity, it would be this. This is the Lorac Alter Ego palette. You've seen me talk about this before. You've seen me use it in a tutorial. It doesn't have like exactly Rose Quartz and Serenity, but there is something about this palette that really like looks similar to some of these palettes. And frankly, this kind of salmon-y pink shade that's very quartzy, it's warm enough to be Rose Quartz. And if you combine this blue shade and like this white shade and then like a little bit of the dark blue, you can get like a very close dupe for Serenity. Boom, boom, combos, you know, and then let's combine the pink shade a little bit with some of this white shade to get, yeah, like look, that's basically Basically, like any like lightish blue and lightish pink shades will work. And if you have a kind of grayish or light white shade that you could use to mix with it to kind of balance it out and make it more kind of in that pastel-y, kind of washed out color family, the way that Rose Quartz and Serenity are, then go for it. Don't buy a new shadow, just use what you got, kid. Other eyeshadows and eyeshadow palettes that I think work really well. This Kat Von D Chrysalis palette, I think this is one of her more underrated palettes. I don't know how available it is. I know on her website I think you can get it. I use this a lot on my eyes today, and it really is like, it had this shade up here I think is like Rose Quartz. Like it's basically like, it is Rose Quartz. And then there's not really a Serenity shade here, but like, again, you can combine blue and whatever to make a Serenity-like shade. I think this is just a fabulous, fabulous palette that fits into these color families really, really well. And then I got two more little eyeshadow palettes. These are two e.l.f. Prism palettes. This first one is in Sunset. This is just like a warm pink nudie palette. This is just stunning. I feel like any combination of these shadows could give you a very like on-trend rosy quartz look. And then this other palette is the Smoke palette, the Smoke Prism palette. This is like something that you could use in combo with like a more pinky shade to kind of get that full look, or just use this on its own to be like a complement to Serenity, kind of like in the way that this type of nail polish, this granite color, complements that blue shade so well. These shadows are a fabulous deal. They're really underrated. They are really affordable. I think they might be 10 bucks. They might even be less than 10 bucks now. You could always get e.l.f. stuff on sale. And the quality of these shadows is just really, really great, especially if you're new to makeup and you don't have a lot of stuff and you want to just like get a bunch of eyeshadow really fast. I highly recommend these. And e.l.f. also has a matte palette too, which I have not tried. I would love to try it, but you know, these are all shimmer, so to get these and like try to do a whole look is a little tricky, but there are definitely other options within this fabulous affordable brand. Okay, one more little kind of eye type thing. This is a glitter. This is from Barry M. It's the Fine Glitter Dust, and this is in the shade number 7. I think it's just pink or something. I really feel like Rose Quartz and Serenity are both two colors that lend themselves really well to shimmer. Now, that's kind of in sharp contrast with Marsala, which was last year's color of the year, which I thought was much better as a matte. And I feel like a lot of people like really used it as like a matte color, like a neutral matte situation. Oh, I do want to talk about eyeliners. Today, I combined a couple liners to make Serenity on the lower lash line. This is NYX's Electric Blue, OCC's Feathered, which is just a white, and this is Sephora's waterproof eyeliner in the shade Romantic Comedy. This is a little bit of glitter in it. Now, these three shades look like they are not quite Rose Quartz and not quite Serenity, but I gotta say, when you combine these in different ways, you could totally make both colors. So this is like kind of one of those examples. Like I used all three of these today on my lower lash line to make Serenity. I do find that when you're combining colors like this, it's always best to do white last. Put white on top and use it as like a blending agent. It really helps get that color to kind of be the right faded saturation, which is what Rose Quartz and Serenity are all about. All right, lips. Finally, lips. First, these kind of lavender colors. Now, of course, these are not Rose Quartz or Serenity, but I gotta say they work so well with these shades. This is Kat Von D's Everlasting Liquid Lipstick in the shade Aisha, a beautiful like kind of dusty purple lavender shade. I think the dustiness of this really makes it work well with the kind of desaturated pastelness of the two colors of the year. Likewise, this NYX Macaron shade in lavender is also really great. I think lavender and purple are like totally in sync with this color family. Then we have a lipstick shade that is very similar to Rose Quartz. I'm actually wearing this in the center of my lips. This is the OCC Lip Tart in the shade Ophelia. This is in the older packaging. I'm not sure if this is available in the new packaging, the ready to wear collection, but this is just a beautiful warm pink that is not too coral. Like I feel like you could easily get into peach or coral if you get too warm, but there's something fine line about Rose Quartz that makes it between baby pink, like a blue undertone baby pink, and a very warm peach or coral. It's right in the middle there. It's not neutral, it's warm, but it's not too warm, you know, and Ophelia is really like that perfect match for this. And then finally, I've got my MAC Retro Matte lipstick. This is in the shade steady going. This is like one of my favorite lipsticks ever. It's like slightly warm. Again, it's much deeper than Rose Quartz in terms of the shade, but it is similar in tone. It's slightly warm. It's not cool. It's not super warm. You know, it's that perfect middle ground. I also feel like even though I said that shimmer and sparkle work really, really well with these colors, I think you can still make them work as mattes. I think it's a little trickier to pull off, especially that light, to go that light and matte. If you make the color a little bit more saturated, like doing something like this MAC Steady Going, or, you know, the ColourPop blush and Mochi, you know, you could pull off a matte shade in that capacity. Ugh, that is all of my color of the year style guide picks. Please let me know below if you plan on wearing these colors, how you plan on wearing them, if you have any new ideas, if you have any thoughts, anything that I need to try, any other shades, any other products that like fit. Go in with this palette and the combos and the family. Because we are a family like a giant tree. I'm Kimberly Clark. Thanks so much for watching my videos. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Check out my other videos. And enjoy using the colors of the year 2016. I hope you found this video informative. It was super fun. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Kimberly Clark. Bye. Oh, smack you with this Lorac. Lorac smack. Lorac smack make you jump, jump. Lorac smack make you jump, jump. Crisscross to make you